YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for Arlovski versus Barnett. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Ashley Smith versus Veronica Masudo. And Veronica looks alright. She looks like she's decent, but not great anywhere. I think Ashley's wrestling is just going to be too much for her. There's not too much to say about this fight. I mean, Veronica just looks, like I said, average at best. And I think Smith's wrestling is just too high level for these lower level people. So she's probably just going to grind out a decision, maybe get a late TKO. Next is Rustam Hobylov versus Leandro Silva, and I don't really understand why Hobylov is fighting Silva. Silva's coming off a loss, and Hobylov's won his last like 2 or 3 in a row. So, and I just think Hobylov's a much better wrestler. I think he'll be able to consistently take this fight to the ground and just beat up Silva. Not much else to say. I just think it's kind of weird that he's not getting, close to a top 15 guy or a top 15 guy. But either way, Hobylov wins by decision. Next is Scott Askren versus Jack Hermanson. And Jack is he's got some striking, he's got some jiu-jitsu, he's all right everywhere, but I just think Scott Askren's fought better people. I think he's knocked out better people. And this will probably be a striking fight for as long as it lasts, but like I said, Scott's already got the UFC experience. Jack's making his debut. I just feel like it's a better striker going up against a lesser striker, more or less, and I just think Scott's going to win by knockout, probably. Next is Jarvis Dunho versus Christian Colombo. And Jarvis looks like he's a decent striker, but he's already gotten one loss by KO in the UFC. I forget to who it was, but I remember him being knocked out. And Christian's also coming into the UFC. This is a debut, but he looks like a little bit better of a striker, and he's 8-1 overall, and I've seen him go the distance, and he looks like he can keep a decent pace, and he just looks like he's the better prospect of the two. They're both, I think Jarvis is 6-1, but I just think Christian's the better prospect. He looks like the better striker, and I say he wins by second or third round knockout. Next is Taylor Lapilus versus Leandro Issa, and this depends entirely on if Lapilus can keep it standing. If he keeps it standing, he's the way better striker, and he'll be able to just pick him apart for like 3 rounds, maybe even get a late TKO. If Silva can get this to the ground, I think it's a completely different thing. I think he might be able to submit Lapilus or at least grind out a decision. Not 100%, but I'm going to go with Issa. Lapilus's takedown defense has looked good, but at the exact same time, he has been taken down before. And I think if Issa can even take him down once, I think he'll be in a world of hurt. So I'm going to say Issa probably gets a late submission. Next is Peter Sobotta versus Nicholas Dalby. And to me, Nicholas Dalby's a little overrated. I mean, I know he was undefeated until recently, but his debut fight, he won by split decision. Then his second fight, he was losing until the guy broke his arm, and then he won the third round 10-8, and then he lost, and they made it seem like this huge thing, beating him for the first time. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying I think him being undefeated was a tiny bit overrated. He's 1-1-1 in the UFC, and that one draw should have been a loss if that guy didn't break his arm in between the rounds. And Peter Sobotta's looked amazing since he came back. I think the 2 fights that he's had, he looked good in both. And then the third one, the one where he lost to Kyle No, he just got hit with a big body shot really early. So I think I think Peter Sobotta has looked really good since he's come back, and I think the way better grappler of the two, and they're both primarily grapplers with some striking. So I don't know if this is an upset, but I think Peter Sobotta is going to win by either decision or submission. I just think he's looked better in the fights that he's had versus Nicholas Dalby, who has just looked okay. So I'm going to say Peter wins by either decision or very late submission. Next is Jenis Aria versus Jim Wallhead, and Aria looks alright. He's this German MMA guy. He looks like he's got a little bit everywhere, but he's just not great anywhere. I think the same thing about Jim Wallhead. I think he's good everywhere, but not great anywhere. But I just think Jim Wallhead's got a huge advantage experience-wise, and I think, especially with his wrestling and stuff like that, I think that's going to play a big part with guys that are making their debut, which they both are. But I just think the experience and the wrestling advantage he's going to have is going to get him the win. I say he probably wins by, ground and pound or a submission. So Wallhead. Next is Nick Hein versus Tahu Bang, and this is another one that, Nick Hein, if he uses his good foot movement and stays far away, he'll win an easy decision like he did in his last couple of fights. Tahu Bang really needs to go after him. He needs to fucking make it a brawl, but the biggest weakness Bang has is he gets tired, and Nick Hein has shown that he did in the beginning of his career, but Nick Hein looks like he's slowly learning to pace himself a lot better. and he's kind of cut down the muscle mass a tiny bit. So I haven't seen him gas since like I think that fight that he lost. But his last 2 fights, he's looked amazing. He didn't look tired, and he was able to use really technical striking to get a decision. Bang just looks like a brawler who, and that's about it. And he kind of gasses, but it's so hard to pick because I just feel like Bang could win at any moment. But I think Hein is better overall. I think his wrestling is better. I think his striking is better. So it's hard for me to pick against him. So I'm going to pick Hein to win by decision. Next is Ryan Bader versus Ilir Latifi. And these 2 guys are basically the same fighter. They're both boxers with wrestling with a little bit of submissions. But I'd say overall, I think Bader has the speed and technique advantage. Ilir Latifi's probably got the one-punch knockout power advantage. Either way, I'm gonna pick Ryan Bader. I think that he's probably gonna win by decision. I just think, like I said, I think technically overall he's a little bit better. It's kind of like the Nick Hein versus Taihu Bang thing. But either way, I'm gonna pick Bader by decision. Next is Alexander Gustafsson versus Jan Blachowicz, and these guys are both kickboxers, but Gustafsson's gotten way better at his grappling, as where Jan just looks, he hasn't improved at all. Whenever he gets taken down, he just has a hard time doing anything, and I think this fight's going to be exactly like Gustafsson's fight with Jimmy Manuwa. I think he'll hit a takedown early, and then Jan won't be able to get back up, and Gustafsson will probably win by TKO. People underestimate Gustafsson's wrestling, but he's taken down Cormier and Jones. I think his wrestling's fucking amazing. It's just people underlook it so much. So I think Gustafsson's going to strike with him until he gets a takedown, and once he gets a takedown, he's just going to move the mount or something and win by TKO. Next is Andre Arlovski versus Josh Barnett, and I really want Andre to win this fight, but he's not. I saw that fight with Frank Mir, and Frank Mir was taking him down pretty easily, and if Frank Mir can take you down, Josh Barnett's going to fucking obliterate you. I just feel like his ground and pound and his submissions, I think Arlovski's only hope is to win in like the first round when he's fresh and he uses movement and shit like that, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think sooner or later Josh is going to get a hold of him. He can take a shot really well. I mean, I know he got knocked out recently by what's-his-face, and I know he got submitted by Ben Rothwell, but those were just kind of, things that happened. I thought he was winning the whole fight against Ben Rothwell until he, was forcing that takedown and got caught in the guillotine. And then the same thing with Travis Brown, he got kind of hit in the back of the head, in my opinion, with some of those elbows, but whatever. I'm just saying, Josh Barnett still looks really good. These guys both look really good. I just think he has a huge advantage on the ground. I think that sooner or later this fight's going to hit the ground. Once it does, Arlovski's not going to get back up, and Barnett's just going to win by TKO. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.